It's not often we get a chance to play with some devices from Oppo, but this morning, this phone arrived on our doorstep here at the offices. So it's time to get it out of the box. I'm Taylor Martin, this is Pocketnow, and this is our unboxing of the Oppo Find 7a. So some of the smaller manufacturers in the Android marketing space are more interested in pushing the market along and developing new features and truly innovating, whereas some of the bigger players are starting to sit back and focus on different things like user experience. That's not to say Oppo isn't focusing on user experience, but in terms of specifications, Oppo is very boldly pushing things forward. Not necessarily with this device. This is the Oppo Find 7a. The Oppo Find 7 is the device that really pushes things along with a 2K display and the 2.5 GHz quad-core Crate 400 CPU, part of the Snapdragon 801. This one is a step down from the 7 in just about every way, but it's still on par with some of the best flagships out there. So that's what's so impressive, is the step down version of the phone is comparable with something like the HTC One M8. So without too much delay, we can get inside the box and see what this thing's about. And as we do, it's actually got a nice pull tab there for us, just to rip it open. And they do some clever stuff with their boxes and their packaging, which is really interesting. So I don't think we're going to see anything too terribly neat here, but they sent out a teaser to some outlets with a really cool light display. This one just seems to be a plain black, pretty boring box, and if we can get into the packaging, I might have to grab a knife. Always have a knife nearby. Some of you say that's creepy, but comes in handy, especially when you do unboxing videos. So the box actually feels really nice. I don't know how to explain that through words or show it on video, but the box is not your standard box. It's plastic, which is interesting. So we'll set that aside. Here's the phone, which it has a 5.5-inch display, so it's a pretty big phone. We'll get to that in a minute. Inside, you're gonna get some earbuds, so nothing fancy. They look just standard earbuds with some extra tips, of course. A micro USB cable, which is nice, and you get this dedicated charger, which is something you don't see much anymore. This giant power brick with a built-in micro USB cable. And of course, if I quit fumbling stuff here, you have some reading materials and the battery. That's going to be helpful. I thought it felt a little heavy, so we can put all this stuff back in here, push it out of the way to get to what we really care about. This is the Oppo Find 7a, and this one has a 1080p 5.5-inch display. So the Find 7 has a 5.5-inch 2K display that's 2560 by 1440. This one is 5.5 inches at 1920 by 1080. That is an overall pixel density of 401 pixels per inch. Inside, this one has 2 gigs of RAM and 16 gigabytes of storage. It also has the same 13 megapixel camera around back. That is a 5 megapixel camera on the front. And this battery, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be 2800 milliamp hours. So actually, there it is. It's 2700 milliamp hours. So this one is still a pretty large size battery. We've seen larger, but this is also a very thin phone. So they're kind of constrained with size, I suppose. If we can, we'll get this close to the mic. Don't think it's going to give us anything. No noise. Sorry about that. But if we can figure out how to get this battery door off. There we go. It just pulls off in a really weird way. If we pop the battery in, we're not going to put a SIM in it just yet. We'll pop this back on, and it feels really solid. It doesn't exactly feel or look like the back comes off, which is nice. It's something we want to see, but it does feel really light even with the battery inside. Like I said earlier, this one has a Snapdragon 801 chipset. That is a 2.3 gigahertz quad-core Crate 400 CPU and the Adreno 330 GPU. So the specs are really quite great for this sort of device, especially considering that this is not the top tier model. This is the step down from the flagship, the 7. So this is very interesting. The other cool thing about this phone, and what I'm really interested in getting to try out, is the camera. So it's 13 megapixels, but it's capable, through a feature Oppo calls Super Zoom, it's capable of taking 50 megapixel images. And this is what the display looks like. So at 1080p, this one looks very, very nice. And this is going to be what most previous Oppo owners are going to know as the Color OS UI. So it's a little different. We'll get into that once we get to the review and comparisons. We'll get to really tinker with that and play and see how it's different and similar to other versions of Android. So that's going to do it for this unboxing. If you enjoyed it, be sure to click the thumbs up button below, and of course stay tuned for more Oppo Find 7a coverage over the next week or so. We're going to be comparing it with some other similar devices, and of course digging into some of the finer details of this phone, like how the camera works and all of that. And we'll be giving it the full review treatment as well, so you'll see a written and a video review from us on this phone. And stay tuned for that. I'm Taylor Martin, and I will see you next time.